Hello everybody, and thanks so much for joining me for the third and final demonstration of the mixing course module. We've previously talked about compression and equalization, but there are other audio processes that you can do to a signal to make them sound better, and those are effects. Things like reverb, delay, chorus, flange, the list goes on, but with a basic understanding of some of these effects and what they can do, you can really improve your mixes. Let's get started. In addition to compression and equalization, there are lots of other effects out there that you can use to help you in the mixing phase. Probably the most common effect that you'll be using is reverb. What reverb does is give an instrument or a sound a sense of space, or it emulates a room that that particular sound could have been recorded in and what it would sound like if that were the case. Here in this song that I'm working on, I have a piano part that I think would sound a lot better if it had some reverb. So let's go ahead and take a listen and then see what we can do to make things sound better. Okay, so it sounds pretty good, but a little flat, and it doesn't really have much of that sense of space I was talking about. So in order to create some reverb effect for this instrument, I'm going to highlight the instrument that I want to affect, and then I'm going to create a reverb. Now there are presets for you to choose from, and there are also the parameters over here. The decay is going to help you set a value for how long it takes for a sound to actually go away after it begins. The high frequency damper is going to help eliminate some of those higher frequencies from echoing more than they should. And then there's a little bit of EQ, and then the dry wet knob allows you to mix in the original sound with the sound with reverb applied to it. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what it sounds like with just this default reverb preset. So you can hear the big difference, but it almost sounds as if there's too much of the effect. That's where the dry wet knob comes in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and play this again, and what I'm going to do is reduce some of the wet signal until we get a nice mixture of what we like. You hear how that sounds much warmer, as if it was being played in a concert hall as opposed to right in front of you. Another effect that can be very useful and is used very commonly is known as delay. So let's go ahead and create some delay on this piano instrument again. So highlight the piano and create the delay. So let's listen to what this sounds like just with the default delay parameters. You can see that the delay is most noticeable here when we actually stop the recording, and there seems to be some feedback continuing on with those delays. So we can increase the amount of feedback here, and we can also pan those delays to the left or right just to make things more interesting. But I think what's most important is the feedback. If I were to increase the feedback, you're going to hear the delay repetitions more frequently, and they're going to last a lot longer. So let's take a listen to what happens while we play the piano and increase the feedback on the delay. Okay, it gets a little messy after a little while, but that gives you a better sense of what the feedback parameter does. The last effect that I wanted to cover was distortion. Now, distortion is frequently used with guitars, but it could also be applied in very subtle ways to other instruments for a very cool effect. So again, with the piano, let's click the piano and then create some distortion. Now, just like any other instrument or effect, you have a whole network of presets that you can go to here, or you can mess with the parameters yourself, which is always a lot of fun. So let's hear what this sounds like with the distortion applied to the piano. Not quite so pleasant. So let's make some changes to see if we can add some distortion to this piano that's a little more pleasing. You'll notice here on the Scream 4 distortion unit that we have a damage control knob. Now this is going to act almost as our wet dry knob from the previous effects. So let's go ahead and play this piano riff again and then mess with some of these controls. I really like that. Just adding a little bit of distortion changes that sound just enough to be uneasy, and I think it fits this song perfectly. So what we've done right now is use a couple of different effects available to you within Reason as insert effects on individual instruments. But there's also a way where we can use effects as sends that can be applied to more than one instrument at the same time. To create a send effect, you have to create the effect after the master section in the instrument or rack window, as opposed to creating them directly beneath the instrument that you want them applied to. So I'll locate the master section within Reason, highlight it, and then I'm going to go ahead and start creating some effects. Reverb tends to be the most useful as a send effect because using the same reverb on multiple instruments allows them to sound like they're coming from the same space. Now that we've inserted our reverb send effect into the correct position, we'll need to move over to the Reason mix window. If I locate the send section on the mixing console, you'll notice that the reverb effect that I created after the master section is now here as our send effect number 1. So let's say that I wanted to add some reverb to that piano. I'd simply solo the piano, listen to it, and then I'm going to enable the effect. Yeah, very nice. Just a small amount of reverb to make the piano sound like it's coming from somewhere. But let's say that I want to add that same reverb to another instrument. I can do that very easily. Just like I did with the piano, I'll simply enable the effect on whichever instruments, and then I can just increase or decrease the level of that effect as I see fit. There, our little song is starting to sound a lot better with some reverb added to it. Now you should have a more detailed understanding about the entire mixing phase, from compression to equalization to all the different effects that are available to audio engineers and what those effects can accomplish and what they do for your mix. Get creative and have fun. Keep mixing things. Mix things once, start over fresh and mix them again, and see how things compare. Have fun, and we'll see you next time.